The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everyone. Let me know that you can hear me okay. And I'm going to look at, I said there's no HIRA for existing homes, but it's Friday. I figured why not? I love having rooms. And people come. So I guess people want to learn stuff. There are people that read my emails and do want to learn some things. So as long as you all want to come and learn stuff, I'll give rooms. I'll do rooms, even if I know, there's not always going to be a trade. Existing homes, we don't even have a HIRA for it, so it can't possibly be a prime trade, right? Last month, it hit the first target, but that doesn't mean I don't test it because I would think, I don't mean existing homes, I mean new homes. New homes, last month, it it filled both targets, if I remember correctly. Let me check the date because one of the problems I had with new homes is that we haven't had a way to I didn't have a good way to test it because we haven't been trading the darn thing. So if we're not trading it, I don't have it in my journal. That means I have to physically test every single one. And new homes just has not been worth trading. I've tested it 1,000 times, 1,000 times. So on February 26th, let's take a quick look. My memory is that it had a good trade. First target. First target on 226. So you keep that in mind, right? There are first target trades. There's nothing terrible about that. January 25th. January 25th. Let's see if I even kept track of it. Sometimes on a trade that we don't trade, we might have been doing something else. So January 25th, I did not make a notation about new homes. Okay, existing homes was a stop out, and that's the only one we trade. They're not necessarily related to each other either. Um, January 25th, then December 22nd, it would have traded with University of Michigan. So I think, very honestly, we didn't trade 12/22 because that's Christmas. Okay. Jay takes that week off. I like trading that week. I think that it's a perfectly okay week to trade. Volume's lower, but news trades still work. November 27th would have been the one before that, and it would have been a stop. Okay. I tested that one. You get my point. It's not a breakout trade, hasn't worked as a breakout trade this year. 1025 was the one before that. Let me see if I even made a notation. 1025 new homes. Nah, we were trading the Bank Canadian Canada rate statement on 1025, so we would have ignored new homes on that anyway. Let me just check September 26th, and then I'll tell you how I want to test this today because the breakout's just a disaster. It was a no trade on December 26th, so you have nothing. It's out of 5 trades you have zilch. One trade that hit a target. So you want to put your money on it? Go ahead. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't need to. I wish cattle. Core durable, David, was a cancel. 10 seconds, no fill. And ironically, I had decided that it was too dangerous to trade. Gold had a monstrous open at 820, the most phenomenal open. And it was already almost up at R4. And not paying attention in Australia the other night, Australia was at R4 for the jobs report. It didn't move. I think when you get charts that give you a heads up that you're at R4 already, you want to be real careful about whether or not you're going to trade that report. Because if you're at R4, you've already had so much movement before the trade that you might want to take a pass. All right. Let me show you, David, what we should have traded because we had Canada CPI. That's why I love recording this stuff in the room. Then I don't have to do things with the clock, with the video. It's ready to go immediately. So look at that open on gold, David. 1341.50 ish, $6. That's not normal. R4, it was already at R4 mid, making new highs. It was a very risky core durable goods trade, which, by the way, had it not canceled and you stayed in it for 30 seconds, it would have stopped you out. So every now and then I make a good decision. Not every now and then. I mean, plenty of times I make a good decision. Sometimes I don't. Made a bad decision with FOMC. That's been bugging me all week. I should have traded the trap trade. I want to punch myself for trading gold, not the trap trade. That was, to me, was a big mistake. That was my mistake of the week. I'll never make it again. I will never, ever trade the FOMC as a breakout trade. I will trade it only as a trap trade. Only as a trap trade. We would have hit our 25% target for the month. Would have been an awesome month instead of being flat. So you live and learn. Live and learn. Now I'm waiting for people to show up. So you could see core durable goods was nothing, David. It was a terrible trade. And then we downloaded Canada. Look at Canada. It was an awesome, awesome one contract trade. CPI would have been great. This is what I mean about a one contract trade. 2 seconds, no target. You get a burst and you get time to put a low slippage order into the market. You get the time. Why is it a low slippage order? Why is it a low slippage order? Because you're putting it in manually. Pretty much almost after, see, now I'm going to move manually and put my trade in there, right? That's why you make money on those one contract trades. They're beautiful. As long as it doesn't reverse on you. If it reverses on you, you're in trouble. So here's what I wanted to try on new homes because it's not a good breakout. It's not a good mover. So let's do 2 ticks above and below the range on a one-click range trade, and we'll just do a look back of 4. Okay? Look back of 4. I'm even thinking 3. I don't want to do a long only. And then the question is, do you still do gold? Do you still do gold today? And I'll show you, gold's way up. It's been really moving up. It did correct a little bit off the high, but now it's starting to go back up. 2 contracts, I can live with that. I'm going to do gold because that's what I would trade new homes with. I would normally do gold. So I'm going to test it with the 210 tick chart, with the one-click range trade, just to show you how you can use the one-click range trade on a news trade. It doesn't have to be the way we've been doing it in the room. If you understand now that our software is a trade management program, besides a fantastic news trader, it should open your mind to all sorts of different trades you can take with it. Think of it as a trade management product in addition to a news trader. And that will change the way you look at it. That means you can trend trade it. You can scalp with it now. You can trade in a single direction. It's fantastic. I think that what we've done to this software is made it so powerful but not hard to use that if you're not downloading the current version of the program or don't email me and ask me for the current version of the program, I can't help you make money anymore. I want to help you make money. There's no reason to be using an old version of our software just because you're comfortable. You can get comfortable with something new. Okay? So send me an email. I'm going to get the current version of the product on the website today. I'm going to email Jay and get the current version up there. And I'm testing the newest version now. Let me set up the trade. I'll show you a couple of quick things. So it's a one-click range trade, 2 ticks above the range, 2 ticks below. I'm using a 4 on my look back. 4 on my look back. I'm doing my direction both. I don't know which way this trade's going to go. And I'm doing 3 contracts. It's a first target trade, okay? It's a first target trade. My second target, I'm not going to trail in this. Trailing with gold does not work well. 9 tick stop, okay? And now the new feature for trailing, which I think is awesome, which I'm not doing, but it's here. If you start at the target hit, that's new. You could do it with one contract, or you could have it off, or you could just start trailing where your stop is. Okay? Very nice little new update. Okay? So I'm just testing new home sales, which has been a lousy report. I'm testing it with the one-click range trade, and the one-click range trade is my management. It's managing the trade for me. That's all it's doing. Look how beautiful Patrick's opening of the NASDAQ was. At 9:33, he got a signal to go short. Everything was aligned. Everything. Slope in the moving averages. Red candles. No purple dots. ADVX, VMA, DX, VMA red line. Heavy slopes. Beautiful, beautiful trade. Right? Those are the ones you want to wait for. Yes, Bob. I have everything for Ninja 8. I have for Ninja 7. Send me an email. I'll send you the newest version. Bob, you're my tester. You're my tester. I'll send you my version, Bob, if you test it for me. You want to do that? Like we did on the last one. Send me an email, please, and I will send you the new version. I have it. Oh, Bob, I can't. I have to send you 2 versions ago because it's not protected. I'm sorry. It'll be a day or 2. But I can still send you a newer version than you have, I believe, with 1 contract trailing. Okay? Now, Ninja 7 users. Ninja 7 users. Um, let me tell you something. When you install the new software, install it on top of your old software. You will 100% get an error when you try to open the strategy that there's a serialization error. I send along a document with the program. It's a Ninja error. It's not a JOBB error. It takes 30 seconds to fix it. And it's so easy to fix, a baby could do it. You just deal with it because it saves you so much time rather than uninstalling. Just install it on top of your existing software. Okay? There's a fix for the error. The error is Ninja has a fix. It takes 1 second to fix it. It's not our fault. It's not something the programmer did wrong. I could explain what it is, but it just has to do with old templates and new templates. And this way you don't have to change your templates, make new templates, erase templates. Just install on top, get the error, fix the error. It's so easy. And David, we got to get you going on the software. It's time. Don't you think? I don't see why it shouldn't work for you now. If your machine is cleaned off, you won't even get the error if you've never installed the strategy before. You'll only get the error if you've used the strategy before. Excuse me. So tiny look back on news trades. All right. Always a tiny look back on news trades. Why you can have a big look back on a news trade? You can even use a smaller look back. I don't even think you need a look back at all on a news trade. I would use a 1 or a 2 because there's just no reason to be looking back. You don't want the range getting in your way on a news trade. Okay? So the more I think about it, the smaller it should be. So let's do that today. Let's make it let's make it 2. That's all it needs to be. Excuse me. So, 2 contracts for our first target, 1 contract for our second target. Stop of 9. I'm not trailing. Okay? It's new homes. If it hits the first target and stops me out, I'd be overjoyed. Overjoyed. Because it's a trade that doesn't work. It hasn't had a history of working, but we've never tested it with the 1-click range. Let's check our time. When you test, I'll say it over and over. You know I say the same things over and over because you want to get so boring that no matter how many contracts you trade, you don't feel any more nervous than when you're trading one. You want to be so boring and so caught up in doing the same thing all the time when you trade that it just becomes a boring process so that you don't get extra nervous and lend yourself to making more errors. That's why you want to do the same things over and over. Check your time. Check your index. Check your HIRA if there is a HIRA. Be boring. It's for your benefit. Now look, my clock is screwed up. I'm 2 seconds ahead, so I got to go to dimension 4, right? I got to bring dimension 4 onto the screen, show you how to use it. Excuse me. Sync now, I'll press it like 30 times, 10 times. And what I'm hoping to see is the synchronized line change. If it doesn't, like it's not changing now, then I have to change servers by going into settings, clicking yes, and then I can change the server. So I look for a server, find one. Usually I like to pick one in the US, an Air Force base or something like that. Okay it. And then I can okay and okay. And now see how it's changing on the synchronized line? So now it's changing. Now when I check my time, you'll see my time's going to be fine. Oh, it didn't work. That's rare. Now we got to get cracking. Let's try it one more time. It should have worked. That's very rare that it doesn't fix me. Let's get a different server here. Real quick. Let's try syncing it one more time. This should fix it. Sync now, time. There we go. All right. I never have an instance where dimension 4 won't fix me. Sometimes it'll do that. Sometimes it'll occasionally not work. All right. I would do a 15-second cancel on this trade. and I would enter the trade a couple of seconds before the news is released. Stephen, I always forget on news trades, you do them differently. You enter what, 10 seconds before? And it's not an exact science, the time you enter the trade. It almost, in some ways, you could do what the higher does 3 seconds. That's fine. Enter it 3 seconds before the trade. No problem. So double click the range entry button twice. That's what gets the trade on the screen. Right now, we're just watching the range. Okay? We're just watching the range. And if there's no movement, which is very possible, you may not get much. I knew I didn't see my pivots on this screen. I've got to have pivots. So I'm going to enter 5 seconds before the trade. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Let's see what happens. And I don't have time to show the news. If someone's looking at the news, I goofed and forgot to put the news on. Forgive me. Somebody tell me what the news is when it comes out. I don't want it to distract me now. 15 seconds I would give this. Okay, so filled alongside. Is it going to follow through? See what the news was. It's not even here. Not getting any follow through to the upside at all. And new home sales are negative. Okay. Quite a bit negative. Should get that move up. You should get that move up. Okay. I'm going to combine the targets by hitting the combine button twice. Maybe not. Let's see. You should get a test of that high. You should get a test of the high, I believe. Let's see what happens. I'm glad I'm long. If I was trading this for real, I think it should drive up and hit that target like it's getting ready to do. Oh, one tick. One tick's all we need. I'll move the stop manually when it does that because my trailing is not on. Look at that. One tick. The other thing I said I was going to do is not move my stop real fast in trades. Now they're saying that the market's much slower today after yesterday's crazy moves. Makes total sense, right? But you could see why new home sales is just a nothingness trade. You could have moved yourself, combined your targets, and moved one tick to get out with a little bit of profit because of how poorly it's moving. But it really, look, honestly, it looked like it was getting ready to pop up and make that new high, which I still think it should based on the news. News is down, gold should still head up. And it failed on the downside, so now it really should go up and finish. Come on. One tick. It can't get that one tick. It still should do it. There it is. The tick. Break even plus one. Now I'm up 60 no matter what. The market is mine. If it tests the high, I'll have a nice profit. If it doesn't, I'll make $60 on a lousy report. Okay? I think it's a perfect spot for the target. Right under the new high. You could move it down one. Okay. So you got what you got. That's all this trade has in it. It doesn't have much in it. Okay? Just doesn't have much in it. I mean, some people would say 1480, two ticks away. That's a test. That's a test. Okay? Now, we haven't been using gold on this trade, on the one click range trade. But I wanted to test that new home sales on it was the main thing I wanted to do here. Anybody have any questions? Let's start with that first. Questions, anyone? Alex, what do you mean? Oh, the news. The news. I'm assuming that's what you mean. There's the test. It made it. So I should have been more patience. That's what I was saying. Would make a lot of sense on these news trades these days. It did exactly what it should have done. That's exactly what it should have done. And it still looks like it's heading up to me. You've got all the signals that allow you to go long here. You're allowed to go long there. Let's see if we could hit our target, first target, another 3, 4 ticks. Got it. Protect my profit, $60. Remember, I'm trading 2 contracts on my first target. Gold is absolutely usable on the one-click range trade. And the proof is in the trading, right? You had all your signals were good to go long. Turn it back on if you want to trade. I would be done today. Friday, 200 up. I'm okay with that. Still going up. I don't know if I want to chase it here. And now you need to make your range a more normal size too. Although you could wait until it stops responding to the news trade. But you had a great gold trade. Great gold trade. Right? 200. We had 2. We got 2 good trades out of that. I'm very glad I could show you. This is why you need to download the software. If you haven't downloaded the software, you're missing out on the ability to practice doing this, to setting it up. Look at Patrick's setup. His setup gave a great signal at 10:05. It said go long. His indexes were all sloping. The Zlima Williams was sloping. Everything was a go. And that's why I went long. For once, I didn't rush in the room. Okay? I didn't rush it. You need to download, you need to ask me for the most current version of the software. Okay? That's what you want to do. This is a really great setup. It's a setup that you could make your own, completely make your own. Okay. If you like to trade gold, bingo, you've got a setup for gold, a trade to manage it. If you like to trade oil, trade oil. Know which times are the good times. If I was going to trade oil, I would trade it from 7:45 to 10:30 in the morning and from 1:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. Gold, I would start probably at 8, go to 10. That might be the only time during the day as I would trade gold unless the news was like yesterday's. If there's big news, gold is good to scalp. Okay. If there's big economic news, the president says something silly or something impactful, gold is good to trade. You don't want to trade it at the time of the oil report. Give it a half an hour. Okay. Find some times. You do it just like you do your news trading. Set yourself up a schedule. Pick a couple of indexes, one or two that you love. Don't do 10. Don't do so much stuff that you can't keep track of anything, so you don't do anything right. Okay. Decide which setups you like. Do you want to scalp? Or do you want to trend trade? If you're going to scalp, then your targets are like mine were today. This is scalping kind of targets, 3 and 7. Okay. Trend trading with gold is going to be more like 10 and 20 with a stop of 25, right? You have to risk about $500 if you're going to do that, don't you think? And you're going to trail it. So you turn your trail on. And what you do is make your second target a 0 so that it'll just trail for you. Okay. This is why we need a webinar to go over all these features and how to use them. Do you understand what I did with the trailing there? It'll trail. I discovered that it will trail if your target is big. Your second target is big. It will still trail. And there are some things I'm talking to the programmer about still. I want to get this perfect. One of the things it does, and you've seen it happen to me in the room, if I have trailing on and I'm moving the stop manually, it will pop back to where it thinks it should have been when the trail started. It doesn't take into account the fact that you're moving the stop manually if trailing is on. So I want the programmer to fix that if he can. He may not be able to. But does everybody understand why I'm so excited about this? Why I like it so much? You saw, even though it was sim, it was not difficult trading to walk away with close to $200 today. If you traded the new homes and followed the news with it. Does anybody have any questions about the setups? How to change your setups? What indicators to use? Do we need just another full-blown webinar from scratch on the whole thing? I'm happy to do it. Joe, you going to work? All right. Have a great weekend, Joe. And thanks for the kind words. But look, new home sales might be worth trading it with the one-click range. following it like we did with the news, giving it 15 seconds. Maybe we'll try it next month, okay? Because we're going to do things differently next month. Bear with me 1 second. So, but I want to keep track of my settings for various trades. So people, if they want to trade new home sales, I can say, okay, use the one-click range trade, use a target of 3 and 7, and a stop of 9. That's a pretty low risk trade. And a look back, the key is the look back. We just looked back 2. We looked back 2 and we had 2 ticks above and below the range. The look back just means how many bars you're creating the range on. That's what the look back means. How many bars am I creating the range at? Okay. That's all that means. If you want to have a longer, bigger range, use a bigger look back number, right? It's very simple. Watch. If you want a bigger look back, make it 15 and watch what it looks like. And remember, when you enable it, you're not in the trade. You're just in the range. The range is just going to be drawn. That's all it means. Did I forget to enable it? Yes, I did. Okay, see how much bigger the range was? Much longer. So we like that in some ways because you have a opportunity for the super trend, this dashed line, to be inside the range. Stephen, are you able to talk today? If you wanted to talk about your GOM, if you could talk, if not next week, you could explain that indicator if you want. Stephen has a different indicator he's been testing on this trade. I know everybody's indicator crazy. It's just the nature of life. We love indicators. I think we have found a good set of indicators. Different Stephen. You want to see if your mic works? Let me see if I can try to
All
talk.
right.
Yeah, the mic
Testing.
works.
Okay, good. Good.
But for some reason, I don't know why I can't make you I can't show your charts.
Oh, well, I'm using Google now, and with Google Chrome. I called the people, and they said, "Well, our software is built for Google Chrome."
Who
And I
said that?
the GoToWebinar people,
Oh,
and
okay.
I said they've been using it for 2 years on Microsoft Edge. Well, it's actually built for Google Chrome. I says, well, I don't know. It's just they didn't seem to want to help.
Let me see if I can make you a presenter real quick.
All right,
If
go
I
ahead.
can't, then we'll do it next week rather than waste your time.
All righty.
Because I think people need to see it. Give me half a second. I'll try and see if I can do it inside of GoToWebinar. So
All
that
right.
means you're going to want to check your email in a minute, but let me tell you if I can even do it. I'll tell you in 1 second. I may not be able to do it to a webinar that's already in progress.
Well, we have before. No problem.
I think you're right.
You want me to check my email for something?
Yes. Yep.
Why is that? Is that where it would come through?
Yes. See if you got an email that makes you a presenter or an
No,
organizer. And
normally it just comes through the webinar page.
Oh, this one says it'll come through as an email,
Oh, okay. All right.
and it'll have a link.
All right. Let's. I don't see any email yet, unless it went to other. Let's check that. See if it went to other. No, didn't go to other. Focused. All right. Let's see. Check that. I don't see anything here.
No, don't
No,
have.
as far as an email is concerned, no. Let me check my junk. I don't think it would go there. No.
Yeah, I don't know if it would go to spam or not. I can't. Usually, I can just click on you,
Yeah, no. I mean,
and
that's when we're
then
using
it'll come back
Microsoft
here.
Edge.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
what would happen.
I can't
Right.
do it anymore.
Huh. That's strange.
Yep. Yep.
Because I'm using Google Chrome, so that might be part of the problem.
Right. Right. Or does
Uh,
your Edge work, or was there a problem that Edge didn't work?
the GoToWebinar doesn't work in Edge.
Huh. I'd
Real,
swear I've used it in Edge all the time.
I have for years,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't fix it.
All right. I
They just
didn't
said,
load your indicators. Otherwise, I would just say you could explain them and I'll show them on my chart, but I don't have.
right, you could
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
So
No,
let's do it next week. We'll do it next week.
okay.
Rather than,
Alrighty.
I'll set it up with you privately and we'll make sure I get you working.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
Sounds good. Right,
Okay. Thanks, Stephen. Anyway, folks, the point is what Stephen has done is he's made this trade his own. He's made the setups his own. There's no reason why anybody can't do that. This is not that complicated. If you get a couple of the indicators, I'm using the ANA Supertrend U11 and the ADV XMA alerts. And you know they're available on Futures IO. And I'm using the Williams AD0 lag. Okay. Then you put them on a chart. I'll happily send you my template if you want it. If you want to set up the way Patrick sets it up, it's a little bit more conservative. He does something different. He uses the ADVXMA instead of the alerts version of the indicator. But look at the nice signals that his software generated, his setup generated today, just today. If you were watching if you were trading gold this morning at 9:30, right? He got a short signal at 9:33 that was so perfect. I mean, everything said to go short. It was a beautiful trade. The indicator had a red line. The candle had turned red. You could wait for the second one. It was dropping below the 200 moving average. I don't know what more you could ask for to risk 10 ticks on that trade. You took no heat. No heat. Then he went into consolidation. Okay. And then before the housing trade, he got a very, very powerful long signal. Look at the power of the coming out of the consolidation. It burst through the U11. All of the indexes were rising in a slope. And I'm not even looking at Williams. I know that Williams is going to back us up, right? But it had multiple trades today out of consolidation. Patrick, did you trade any today? Or are you on vacation? I think you said. And this is just random, folks. I'm not making this up. Obviously, there's going to be better days for one setup or another, but my setup works also if his setup works. Look, another perfect setup to go short. Of course, it's after the fact, but it's analysis. Analysis helps you determine how to make your setups, right? You're not using analysis to curve fit, which means to make it so that all your back testing works. You're using analysis to figure out a good setup. and then you practice it and practice it and practice it. Okay? Let me just show you a couple other quick things on the platform. 5 more minutes and I'll let everybody go. First thing I said is let's look next week to see if there's any prime trades or anything close to good. So let's do that first. Next week is the last week of the month, right? I will trade. I would trade. Unfortunately, this trade, the market's not open for this trade because of stupid daylight savings time. It might be 6:45, maybe. I'm not sure because I would trade that. Hey, if you're a one-click range trader and you're around at 8:45 at night and you like trading the Australian dollar, that might be a trade opportunity, right? If you like to scalp. RBA Assistant Governor Kent speaks. You could spend 10 minutes watching that market to see, right? Those are the things you're looking for. Tuesday, we're going to maybe trade CB Consumer. I'll take a look at it. I don't think it's a prime. ANZ Business Confidence does not move that market. I'll tell you that right now. Final GDP, I'll check that one. Crude. British current account with final GDP. Canadian GDP is not a prime trade, but it's a possible trade. Revised U of M is not a trade, folks. Natural gas has been a trade lately. It's not a very busy week next week. Manufacturing PMI, non-manufacturing PMI, not going to be a trade because it's Friday night. This is the first Friday next week where there's not a trade during the day. It's a little bit slow next week, so we will definitely have a one-click range trade day probably on Tuesday. Okay. I think we can count. Let me see what's doing Tuesday. Next Tuesday, not this Tuesday. Yeah, maybe we'll have it after CB Consumer Confidence. I think CB Consumer Confidence is a one-click range trade now, maybe more than a bracket trade. Anyway, gold is less volatile, Patrick, on certain days, for sure. Gold is definitely worth trying. Hours, I would probably end around now. I'd probably end around 10:30 in the morning on gold. Does anybody want to ask me anything? Anybody? Do you understand the difference between how to set this up for a trend trade as opposed to a scalp trade? Steven sets it up for a scalp trade. So he throws the NQ on, right? Throws on the NQ, 210 tick, look back at 15 usually, and his setup though is tight. One of the setups that he used to use, I don't know if he's still using it, 3 positions. Now I like to use 2 positions, but my first position 2 contracts. He just looks for, let me set this up so it works. He likes to do 4, 6, a third position, a stop of 12, break even, and then break even plus 2. I believe I have that right. He likes to trail, start at target hit. It's almost exact. Look at the NQ going crazy. I'm late to the party now. Okay. That's a scalp setup. That's a scalp setup. You could turn that into a trend setup by making the stop 25 and the first target 10, the second target 20. And then you have a trend setup. Okay. Steven, you're using a stop of 18 now? Is that what you're saying? Okay. So because of the more volatile markets, he's increased the stop a little bit. No harm there. It's a little more risk. And Steven helped design this trade. He's great at it. He's great at it. He taught me to use these zones also. Sometimes we use the zones. MK sup. I'll show you what they are. It seems like there's a lot to learn, but there isn't. You can pick and choose what you like. Those are the zones. They're not a factor right now because they're just not in the way anywhere. Yeah, I don't like Chrome, Steven, at all. I don't like Chrome. What Patrick does differently than Steven is Patrick uses the ADVXMA and he will not trade. I think normally his first trade is the second candle in the blue color or the second candle in the red color. And you can see here it worked on the short side. The blue side did not work here. But you didn't have a proper slope in your EMAs either, where you did here. Okay? He waits for the proper 30-degree slope at least in the EMAs. And if he doesn't have it, he doesn't trade it. Okay? Follow your rules. Don't do what I did the other day, just jumping into a trade like a maniac because you want to show off. That doesn't help. Do what I did today. I followed my rule. I saw it was going long. It was a good trade to take. I took it. There's no rush, right? Look, it looks short. It's in consolidation though. So you got to wait. You don't want to take it when it's in consolidation. And Anna is in consolidation with purple dots. All right? And it's Friday. Friday is a harder day to trade. Less trends. Less trend. All right. Folks, I hope I've been helpful. I hope I've convinced you to ask me for the current version of the software if you don't have it. I hope I've convinced you to download it. Let me send it to you. Learn it. You can use it for news trades like we did this morning. You could use it to set up some scalping if you like that. David, you probably don't have the current version. See if your version says 2.3.0. You may have it. You may have it. Because I sent it fairly recently. It should say 2.3.0. Just shoot me an email. It takes me 1 second to send you the version. And I'll make sure that Jay puts the right version on the web. I think you're positioned to go long here. Right? Coming out of consolidation, I waited too long already. Right? I waited too long. I think I waited too long because I wanted it back here. I wanted it back there. I wanted it back there. If I get stopped out, it's fine. I told you I waited too long anyway. Would I want my stop that tight? It's pretty tight. But I don't like it if I don't get an immediate move. If I don't get an immediate move, I've waited too long. That's usually when I know I've waited too long. Now I made my first target. I made my $80 on that trade. Okay. I had permission to go long, but I was a little bit late. I could have waited. I could have waited to be safer. Okay. I could have waited to be safer. All right, folks. You can understand why I like this setup. If you do it right, take your time, don't rush into trades. Absolutely can be a great little setup on slow days. When there's no news trades, you could scalp for an hour, try to make yourself $150, right? Nothing wrong with that. Any last questions? It's Friday. I got a lot of work to do. I'm going to head out of here. Anybody have any last questions? Patrick, your entry is the second candle, right? It's going long again. It's still going long. I gotta think I'm late to the party here. You're late to the party, for goodness sake. Got it again. Trail, come on, run up, run up, run up. All right, all right. See how I was permission though? You got a big burst of a line up. Moving average are beautifully positioned for long. It looks like it's going to want to go test that high. So you could do a trend trade for a test of the high, and you could do a stop below the 200, right? You could do it that way and use the one-click range trade to manage the trade. What Patrick does is he waits for a real trend. He doesn't like the scalping as much as he likes a slower, longer trade. Today is volatile because you don't really have trends. You have volatility. All right? All right, folks. I don't see any last questions, so I'm going to buzz out of here. And I'll talk to everybody. Vivek, we traded at 10, but not live. We tested the one-click range trade. It would have been a very good gold trade. It was a good gold trade. But that report has not been behaving well, Vivek. It has not been, as a breakout trade, it's been getting stopped on a regular basis. But as a one-click range trade, it looks like it might have some profit, some possibilities. So, Vivek, if you send me an email, I'll make this video available. I'll convert it. Okay? I think there's some good stuff in it. All right, everybody. I'll see everybody after the weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care, folks.